Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Anarchy Day Trading Podcast. Today, we wanted to do a kind of a really practical episode on how specifically to kind of do a post-op dive into your trading journal. We've talked about reviewing your trading journal on the weekend and seeing how you did. But Jordan and I both had a really bad trading week. Really traded awfully, had a bunch of like losing trades in a row. I already talked about that last time, but Jordan did as well. And so when that happens, we do kind of deep dives into our journal in the last week to see what was up. And that's kind of an art because it's kind of hard sometimes to even know what to look for and know what things don't mean anything and were just bad luck and to know what things you need to work on. And so I thought today would be a good time, given the timing of this, to kind of tell how we would go about if you've had a bad trading week or you've had some losing trades and you're looking to review, see what you could learn. Wanted to go into really practical ways of how we do that. And so, Jordan, I'll throw it to you. How you been, man?
Oh, I have been doing well. It's been pouring rain here. It's the middle of rainy season here in Phuket, and things have just been absolutely crazy with rain. Like my neighbors had fish in their backyard. So, that gives you a little bit, we have catfish swimming through the park, literally, like
Get
swimming through the
out.
playground. So anyway, a bit crazy to in terms of weather, but other than that, doing well. I mean, minus my trading, of course, but my rehab business is going really well right now. I have like 9 clients in, so making a finally like running at a profit, which is always nice from a business
Awesome.
perspective. But yeah, I mean, trading, dude, it's just sucked last week, and that was something like you and I were talking over the weekend. Like we both. The funny thing is, we pulled trade different sessions and we trade, slightly different styles. Like, okay, yeah, we have the same kind of support and resistance, but we definitely trade different styles. And yet we both, we sucked wind last week. And so great time to just kind of go, what are we actually looking at? Like when you and I look at each other's journals, like what are we looking at specifically in order to fix that? And I'll just throw it out there. Number one thing I'm looking at is, are we sticking with our strategy, right? Because let's be honest, it can be easy to sometimes your trading style can slightly morph over time
Yeah,
if you're
yeah.
not careful, right? And so we trade breakouts and retests, right? And a lot of times we can it's like you can start getting a little loosey goosey on what is a breakout and retest or what constitutes a breakout and retest versus what constitutes a reversal. And those are that's the first thing I look at. Does it have the look that we're used to?
Yeah, that's a good one. Strategy drift is really
Mm,
common and it doesn't
yeah.
become really apparent until you go back and look. And so you can trade really well and kind of maybe not even get lucky, but you're fine. But you're starting to make slight changes and then it
It
kind of,
drift
it
until it drifts too
drifts.
far.
Yeah, until you look back and you go, oh man, it did drift too far. I'm just kind of trading reversals at this point. I'm not taking my trends in the morning. And that's something that I find very common. For some reason, my brain really wants to trade reversals, and so I will fight against the trend all day. And sometimes, I'll get into that if I'm not careful. So that's really a great thing to point out right off the cuff. That's probably the top one. Um, One thing that's really important for me is to do it with someone, if possible. Now, for us, this is kind of easy. We both trade together, and so we're both traders, and so it's really easy for me to get you on the phone and say, "Look, I've had a bad trading week. Could you sit down with me and take a look at having a second pair of eyes is really important. Really easy for us. Much harder said for a lot of those listening who are kind of in this alone. And so I don't necessarily know if I have some great advice for you other than if you can find someone to do this with. We've done whole episodes on this. Do it. It is one of the most important things that Jordan and I did. It's the reason that we're still trading, doing it with someone. Um, Whether you can learn with someone, whether you can even having someone who's not a trader, but go, hey, could you sit down with me and help me kind of look at and ask some questions? Because sometimes having a second pair of eyes is really important. For us, it's been huge. I can call up Jordan and I can say, hey, I've had a couple losing trading dates. Would you sit down with me and help look at this? And he will. And it's really, really vital.
Yeah, and it's just something to encourage. I mean, the same thing. The funny thing is, last week we both had a sucky trading week, and so we also went into the thing. Okay, maybe so. We Levi and I actually have a review session tomorrow to go over our journals from last week because we both went, yeah, let's take a look and see. The other thing that it could be is realize though that markets go in cycles. So I was listening to a guy, a trader. I don't even remember who the guy was. This was a long time ago too, but he mentioned that the market typically goes in about 4-year cycles, right? Like essentially, you will see like of course the market's never going to give you the same looks, but about if you trade for 4 years, you're going to see most of the looks. You're going to see it trade at all-time highs. You're going to see it trade at lows, and that's kind of where we are right now, right? So Levi and I trade indices. We both trade Dow and Nas, and right now Nas especially has been just flying at all-time highs. Now that could mean that the market acts differently. Well, let's be honest. I think it is acting differently
Does.
because
Yeah.
the proof is in the pudding, the so to speak, and our trading has proven that, especially last week, as we're at all time highs. The market's just not. We're not seeing the moves that we're used to seeing, and so it's definitely affected us. But that being said, so first of all, just recognize the market is, but don't blame the market for your own stupidity, right? Like that's what beginners
Yeah.
do, right? Like so recognize that the market could be showing you different. So that's the other thing. Take a look at what is the market showing you. So go back and say, okay, normally I would be taking this trade. Where has the market been going? Maybe we need to now adjust our stop loss or our take profits, right? So maybe we're used to taking these 1 to 2 moves, but we now notice that our entries are fine, but the market's only going 1R when it used to go 2R. We can make adjustments for that.
Yeah. Yeah, a really good litmus test for that we preach here often, but a really good litmus test, especially for beginners, to help know, hey, is that a good trade or a bad trade? Is ask yourself, if I took that trade 100 times, would I make money? And that's really helpful when you go back into your journal because oftentimes I think beginners, when they lose a trade, they can overanalyze it. So
Mm.
it's possible to overanalyze and take the wrong lessons where you're trying to essentially make up a story in your head of why you lost. And sometimes, again, one of my favorite quotes of all time from The Office is sometimes not everything's a lesson, Ryan. Sometimes you just lose. And so know when you lost because oh well I took 100 if I took 100 of those trades I would win more of them then I'd lose I'd make money and so that's a good loss and this one I definitely could have avoided. I could have avoided that trade. That's a really good litmus test of, hey, was it me or is it the market? And if it's you, then that's good. You can make some adjustments. You can change, you can work on your psychology of, hey, I shouldn't be taking that trade. If it's the market, that's also useful because now you can go, okay, well, now I can adjust to that. I can, like Jordan said, I can adjust my take profit or stop losses. I can avoid getting those trades. I might avoid trading when the market is at an all-time high, and I've never experienced an all-time high trading on the NAS before. I mean, it's kind of obvious looking back that, trading when it's in spots where it's never been before, of course, it's going to act differently. And so your previous experience isn't going to, it's not always going to pan out. And that's why Jordan and I trading at different time zones, trading on different stuff, um, can both our profits and our losses actually trend really closely together because it turns out our experience of the types of markets we've seen are actually kind of similar.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's the encouraging thing. I think also trading together is we go like, okay, one of us has a bad week. Both of us have a bad week and go, okay, maybe it's not just me. Right. And because let's be honest, no matter how long you trade, let's be honest, no matter how long you trade, when you have a week where you essentially just fail every single trade for a week, you're going to be dealing with negative emotions because that is rough.
Hmm.
Because let's be honest, this is a game where your edge is very small and it can take weeks to build up your account and to build up a nice little nest egg. And then it only takes a week of losing, your max loss, let's say losing 1% per day. And your gains, a month of gains can be gone in a
Yeah.
week. And that's I think the really discouraging thing about trading, and that you have to be able to manage, is the fact that the winnings take a lot longer to get than the losing. And so, well, Levi and I both recognize, listen, we've been consistently profitable for quite a while at this point. The fact is, on those weeks where you lose, man, so much of those winnings can just go poof and they're gone. And so being
Yeah.
able to maintain a positive attitude during that is really, really important and difficult, but really important.
Yeah, and that's why when you go into these, deep dives into your journal going backwards, uh, recognize the reason you're keeping the journal is because all of this is fixable. All of it. Whether it's you can fix that. Like, oh, I took a stupid trade. Well, cool. That's fixable. If it's the market, well, cool. That's also, hey, I just learned a lot this week, right? If every single losing trade I took this week was due to the market being weird in a way that I hadn't seen before, which it not all the trades I lost was because of that. I took a couple trades that I wish I could have had back. But let's say if every single trade I lost was because the market was acting weird, well, that's really good news. That means I just saw something I hadn't seen before and I just trained my brain on a different part of the market. And next time that comes around, I'm going to be better at avoiding those types of trades. It's all good news if you kind of keep that kind of mindset. Keep it in a this is the reason we keep journals is because it's a building mindset. We're constructing ourselves into better traders, and whether that's you being stupid that you can fix or whether it's a market something new that you can learn, it's all good news if you view it that way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And you've got to just stick with what you know, and don't be tempted to just jump to another strategy or change what you're doing. You might need to adapt it, right? You may need to adapt your strategy for the market, but don't just jump strategies. This Levi, you mentioned the Office, and I am going to quote one of my favorite quotes of all time from the venerable Ron Swanson: is never half-ass two things, whole ass one thing. And
Oh,
what I mean by that is,
that's Ron Swanson is what's it called? Parks and Rec. That's Parks and Rec.
yeah, Parks and
Although
Rec.
it's Michael Schur, same guy.
Yeah. But the fact is, never try to do two things. And this is, I was just talking to
Yeah.
someone last week. Stop, check your strategy. Adapt it, but don't change up. Don't just run off things. Don't get panicked. Don't let it cause you. Now, don't go do something stupid, right? Like, stick with what you're doing. Trust the process, trust what you've learned. And in the end, again, as you said, Levi, it's great. You will have trained your brain on new programming. Any new program, no, any new information that you're adding to your repertoire is great. And that's why you don't see there again. The internet has given us such an unreal expectation of trading. Like, you never see, like, the thing is, you never see a bodybuilder and go, dude, I bet he only worked out for 3 weeks or 3 months. You see bodybuilding, you go, wow, they have put in some serious years of dedication, right? And that's the same with trading. You're never going to see an insanely successful day trader after 6 months, after a year, after 2 years. Most of these guys who are actually really successful, we're talking 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of doing this, because that's how long it takes to actually get all the information you need to be successful. Now, that should be encouraging. Yeah, I mean, it could be discouraging as well, but it should be encouraging because, listen, this is a long-term investment in your future. You're doing this not for the quick win, not to make quick money, but to invest in the future so that someday, 5, 10 years from now, you can indeed go sit on the beach, drink your latte or your pina colada, and enjoy financial and any else other type of freedom that you would like to have.